Bima is the powerhouse of Javanese mythology. He has strangled giant demons, survived the bottom of the ocean, and just recently attained the highest state of cosmic spiritual enlightenment from his divine master. He is, for all intents and purposes, a living demigod. His cousin and bitter rival, King Duryudana, has spent years trying to kill him. After watching Bima effortlessly dispatch every mythical beast thrown his way, the king realizes that epic supernatural violence has reached its limit. He needs a drastically simpler approach. The king sends a warm invitation to Bima, proposing a final peace treaty to end their lifelong feud. To celebrate, he hosts a lavish banquet. But waiting inside Bima's meal is darubeksi, a terrifyingly potent, highly concentrated poison. The plot is so thoroughly devoid of honor that the king's own closest allies refuse to take part. His fiercest general and his most trusted teacher both walk out of the palace in disgust, rather than watch a warrior of Bima's caliber die by poisoned catering. Curious, how does a man who has mastered the secrets of existence still fall for a poisoned plate of rice? Bima walks right into it. Moved by the king's apparent change of heart, he leaves his legendary spiked club outside the palace doors. He sits at the table, unarmed, and begins to eat. The darubeksi poison acts almost instantly. Before the music even stops playing, the giant's vision blurs. His nervous system rapidly shuts down, and he collapses onto the dining floor, paralyzed. To dispose of the evidence, the king's men bind Bima's hands and feet. They strap heavy stone boulders to his limbs to ensure that when thrown away, his massive frame will never float back to the surface. They haul him out to the Jalatunda well, a bottomless, pitch-black pit famously infested with thousands of highly venomous serpents, and toss him over the edge. Bima had mastered the highest metaphysical secrets of the universe, but those spiritual heights offered no protection against a basic social lie. He believed a lifelong enemy on a whim, a lapse in judgment that left him sinking toward the bottom of a well. Plunging into the freezing water of the well, Bima's paralyzed body is immediately swarmed. Hundreds of terrified, highly venomous snakes latch onto his skin, pumping heavy doses of venom directly into his bloodstream. This illustrates the biological irony of Duryodhana's trap. The darubeksi poison from the feast and the fresh snake venom carry directly opposing chemical properties. When the snake venom enters Bima's system, it aggressively collides with the toxins in his stomach. Instead of killing him faster, the two lethal toxins bind together and negate each other. The combination acts as a perfect accidental antidote. The paralysis breaks and Bima jolts awake. By adding a second layer of certain death to his assassination plot, King Duryodhana actively saved his target's life. Bima snaps his stone restraints and scatters the remaining serpents. This image depicts Batara Basuki, the divine serpent god who governs the well. Impressed by Bima's survival, the deity calls off the snakes and rewards him with divine elixirs, multiplying Bima's physical strength until he is as powerful as 100 elephants. But Bima is frustrated. He asks the deity a crucial question. Why did his spiritual enlightenment fail to warn him about a poisoned plate of food? The serpent god introduces him to the Javanese concept of ailing lan waspada, meaning constant mindfulness and caution. Spiritual knowledge, the god explains, is a tool. It is not a passive shield against human flaws. You can memorize the highest metaphysical secrets, but if you do not actively pair them with sharp awareness of your surroundings, you will still fail. Bima was defeated by his own naive lack of caution, not just the poison. Bima immediately wants to return to the surface and tear the king apart. Basuki stops him. Revenge, the god argues, only creates more violence. Instead, he uses his divine power to shrink the giant Bima into the body of an innocent, anonymous little boy. To survive the real world, raw power and passive wisdom are incomplete. Bima has to return to the kingdom not to slaughter his enemies, but to enact a much more difficult strategy: psychological humiliation. Taking the alias Bondan Paksajandu, the tiny child marches directly into the enemy capital's courtyard. where the king is currently failing to move Bima's abandoned spiked club into his trophy room. Entire squads of the king's soldiers cannot budge the weapon. The child casually steps up, grabs the massive handle with one tiny hand, and lifts it into the air as if it weighs nothing. Two giant, invisible guardian spirits suddenly materialize to attack the boy and protect the weapon. The child simply swings the club, crushing the towering demons, and revealing them to actually be disguised gods, testing his resolve. Duryudana has built his reign on physical intimidation. Now, in his own courtyard, that power is inverted, shattered by the uncorrupted force of a child. Terrified by the impossible sight of this super-powered toddler, King Duryudana turns and runs. The child chases him relentlessly out of the palace, tearing through the city's newly built marketplace, smashing stalls and scattering merchants. Exhausted and humiliated, the wealthy, arrogant king cowers inside a ruined shop, begging a lowly street vendor for protection. He has absolutely no idea that the vendor is actually Bima's younger brother, secretly operating in disguise to find out what happened to his sibling. The chaos attracts Yudhishthira, the eldest brother of the Pandawa family. Arriving at the market, he throws a handful of magical chalk that instantly strips away the disguises, revealing Bima and his brother. The king's treachery is suddenly laid bare in front of the entire public. Bima demands the king pay for the assassination attempt, but Yudhishthira steps forward and refuses to let blood be spilled. Instead, he calmly offers to pay for the broken market stalls out of his own pocket, deliberately breaking the cycle of retaliation. Surviving a lethal trap proves you have physical strength, but Bima learns that true, lasting invincibility requires something harder: the constant vigilance to see the trap coming, and the grace to respond to betrayal with a lesson rather than a sword.